Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Welcome to our Emergency Preparedness Program tonight. This is Preparedness Friday. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. It's Preparedness Friday. Sorry about that. I'm trying to keep up here and keep my chat here so I can see what's going on. I want to welcome everybody here. We're not quite all here yet, and I want to make sure we get some people in here to chat before we really get started. I want to talk about preparedness, but before we get into it, I want to have a lot of people in here because I want to get to know everybody here, and I want everybody to understand what we're talking about and be able to take notes. I'm trying to save some people's lives tonight. Okay? Anytime you browse through our EMA channels here, our EMA programs here on YouTube, you're going to see a whole lot of programs we put up over 700 programs in the past 2 years. You're going to see a lot of programs up there. Anytime you see preparedness in the title of the program, anytime you see preparedness in the title of the program, be advised, you're going to want to watch that program. Okay, whenever you talk about preparedness, we've got some of the answers for you. If we don't have all the answers, ask the question, and I'll answer the question for you. I'm allegedly, and I hope to shout I'm an emergency preparedness specialist. I'm also an emergency management specialist. That's what I have to offer you and have to offer the world. Okay? I've been declared and certified as a certified emergency management specialist. I've taken all kinds of classes, college and other classes related to this degree. And I know what I'm talking about. Okay? Before we get into this, let's go take a look at the earthquakes around the world. Okay? Let's take down my webcam, and let's go over here to take a look at the earthquakes around the world. I'm going to start with South America. Again, I need to tell everybody, especially if you're new to this program, the earthquakes that you see on the maps are not necessarily all of the earthquakes that have actually happened. The agency, the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, as I call them. Why do I call them that? Because they are exactly that. They don't tell the truth. They don't put up all or show all of the earthquakes around the world as you would think they should do. Okay? They only show what they want to show and nothing else. Okay? Let's go over here to South America. Yesterday right here, Southern Peru here. We had a 6.0 earthquake that was actually a 6.1. Okay? Today, we have an aftershock here. This is a 5.4 aftershock, 6 kilometers west of Cayarani. Why can I not pronounce these Spanish names? Cayarani, Cayarani. Cayarani, Peru. Okay? Again, we had a 6.0 earthquake. This is an aftershock. This 5.4 earthquake here in southern Peru is an aftershock of that 6 plus earthquake we had here yesterday. USGS had it as a 6.0, came out as a 6.1, and I put all my thinking caps together, took and looked at all the data, and it was actually 6.5, very strong earthquake. Okay? Here we have another aftershock here. South of there, over in northern Chile. Coming into Chile, a 4.2 moderate earthquake here. South of there, over at the Chilean-Argentine border here. San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina, a 4.9, 5.0 large quake. Anytime you see anything 0.9, it is actually a lot larger earthquake than it is, because USGS downgrades the earthquakes to the nearest 0.9, and sometimes even less than that. But if you see anything 0.9, 3.9, 4.9, 5.9, it's an upper magnitude from that. Always, without question. Here we have a 5.0 down here at the Chilean-Argentine border, San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina, a 5.0 large earthquake here. And by the way, these are not all the earthquakes here. They have about 24 earthquakes here in South America today. All of the earthquakes are from Colombia, south here to central Chile. Okay? That's what's going on. Let's come down here into the South Pacific here. Okay? Right here. Again, we're down here between the South and the North Island of New Zealand here. Let's zoom in here. Okay? This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake. 4.4 moderate earthquake down here in what they like to call the Cook Strait. The Cook Strait. The body of water between the South and North Island of New Zealand is called the Cook Strait. Now this earthquake here, this is actually south of Houghton Bay, New Zealand. South of Houghton Bay, New Zealand, approximately 13 kilometers, about 7 miles south of Houghton Bay, New Zealand. This is out in the Pacific Ocean here. Okay? But look how far inland the Houghton Bay is. Okay? Look at this. Let's go in here. Let's pretend we are on a boat here and we want to get into Houghton Bay. We come all the way in here. All the way in here. Right here is Houghton Bay. Houghton Bay. It's a town, a large city here. So that good-sized earthquake is all the way down south. Nobody here was affected by that earthquake because that earthquake was out in open water. The ocean waters absorbed the shockwaves of that quake. The ocean waters absorbed the shockwaves of that quake. And it was only a 4.4 moderate quake. Okay? It was only there. And be advised, again, USGS is not showing all the earthquakes here, either on the South or the North Island here. There's a lot more earthquakes here than that. There's about 16 earthquakes here in New Zealand today. Okay? Further north, there have been several earthquakes over in Tonga and also Fiji here, and USGS is not posting them. Go figure. Go figure. We come down here to the South Pacific also here. Okay? This is Is-Anglo Vanuatu. Is-Anglo Vanuatu. This is a 4.3 earthquake here. This is 134 kilometers south of Is-Anglo Vanuatu. Again, this is a moderate quake, but it's far away from any shoreline or any island that the ocean waters absorb the shock waves of this quake as well. Okay? Nothing happened here. Nothing happened here. We go further west here. Okay? Now we are over in eastern Indonesia. This is Ambon, Indonesia. We continue to have earthquakes here. Okay? This is like the 5th earthquake we've had here in the last week. Again, this is a 4.3 earthquake, a moderate 4.3 earthquake. We go further west here. Okay? Masamba, Indonesia. Masamba, Indonesia. This is another large earthquake here. This is out in the ocean waters here. Look at this. Actually, they moved it. I'm sorry, they moved it. Okay? This is 80 kilometers east of Masamba, Indonesia. Okay? This is on the landmass here. This is on the landmass here. Look at this. Okay? They put it used to be out in the water here, and it's not. It's over here on land. Okay, this is the edge of the plate. This is the edge of the plate, the craton edge, a tectonic plate. A tectonic plate here. Now, why am I talking about tectonic plates? We have one plate here just north of Java, Indonesia here. Okay, up here is another one. There are 7 different tectonic plates here in Southeast Asia. 7 different tectonic plates that include not just Indonesia. The plates also go out here to Samoa, Tonga. They include New Zealand, all parts of Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, Wasfutuna Islands, over into Papua New Guinea, Australia. Australia is the largest earthquake tectonic plate there is down here. Okay? But all throughout this area there are 7 different tectonic plates, and that is why we have so many earthquakes here. And USGS is not even touching on all of the earthquakes either. Okay? They are not telling us all of the earthquakes. Again, over here in Indonesia today, there are like 17 earthquakes here. And USGS is not even touching on all of them. We come over here to northern Sumatra, Indonesia here. Okay? This is a 5.4 earthquake here. Now, why am I talking about a 5.4 earthquake here in northern Indonesia, Sumatra, Indonesia here? A 5.4 earthquake here. What do we have over in Peru here? Almost on the same latitude here. There's a 5.4 here in Carani, Peru here, and another 5.4 earthquake over here in the Banda Aceh, Indonesia. Banda Aceh, Indonesia. Okay? Sumatra, Indonesia. Nearly on the same latitude here. Okay? Two 5.4 earthquakes here in the southern hemisphere. That's quite unusual. Quite unusual. We come down further south over here on the Antarctic Ridge, here in the Indian Ocean. This is another large 5.0 earthquake here. Another 5.0 earthquake here on the South Antarctic Ridge, here in the Indian Ocean. Okay? Now, what's going to happen with this earthquake, since it happened here? Let's zoom in here. I want to show you this. Look what's going on. This earthquake here, this 5.0 large earthquake, it's going to creep northbound here, and it's going to continue going up here into the central Indian Ocean. Okay? It's going to creep up here into this area here. Okay? The Carlsberg Ridge here. The Carlsberg Ridge. It's going to go up here. It could also go in here to Saudi Arabia. It could go up here in Saudi Arabia. It could also it could also climb up here into Iran. It could climb up this earthquake fault here into Iran. Sometime within the next week, week and a half, we may see this energy here climb up into Iran, Saudi Arabia, or even over into Ethiopia and Africa. Okay? I'm just saying what it might do. Just telling you what it might do. We come further up here over into Pakistan. Pakistan. We have a 4.3 moderate earthquake here. Now, what do we have here? Yesterday, we had 4 large earthquakes here. Okay? Now, why? Why? The Himalaya mountains here north of India are the edge of the craton. The craton comes out from Sumatra, Indonesia, goes through the Indian Ocean here into Myanmar or Burma, and then it climbs up here and goes into India and over through the craton edge here in the Himalaya mountains. That is why we get earthquakes here in Pakistan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan. We see that happen all the time. Then this seismic energy, let's zoom in here. It goes through Iran. Goes through Iran. You see the edge of the plate here. It comes down here into southern Iran, then it climbs up further north. Climbs up further north and goes over here to the Anatolian Fault, where we have the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake here between Syria and Turkey here 2 years ago. 2 years ago here. And they're still not showing all the earthquakes here in the Turkish-Syria border region because they don't want to. They don't want to show it. They don't want to remind us what is going on here. We have to be on an earthquake watch here in the Turkey-Syria border region. Okay? That 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here is still causing what? Aftershocks. We're still getting aftershocks even 2 years ago, or 2 years from when this earthquake struck. Okay? We go back here to the Caspian Sea. We have another craton edge here. Comes out of China. Okay? Comes up here in China off the Himalaya Mountains. Comes straight across here in Iran. It goes over here through the Caspian Sea. Through the Caspian Sea. Today, north of that craton edge here in the Caspian Sea, we have a 4.3 earthquake here in Azerbaijan. 4.3 earthquake here. This is only 35 kilometers deep. A very shallow earthquake. Very shallow earthquake. But again, okay, I'm going to caution you. Be advised. The USBS is not showing all the earthquakes here. Now, why am I concerned about that? Because, folks, people's lives are in the balance here. People's lives hang in the balance. When these earthquakes hit, people here in the Turkey-Syria border region, further west over here in Turkey, they don't have that much money. They don't have that much money. They also are not having building codes like we have here in the West. And as a result, when these very large earthquakes hit in this region, people die. Homes are destroyed. Properties destroyed. It's happening. There are earthquakes here in Turkey that they're not even showing us. More earthquakes over here in the Aegean Sea here, where we have volcanoes that are over here near Santorini in this area in the Dokanese Islands here, and earthquakes here. But again, they're not talking about them. Yesterday they showed us some earthquakes, today they're not showing us any. That's typical. 15 earthquakes over here in Greece. They're not showing us earthquakes here as well. Unreal. Unreal what they get away with. We go over here to Italy. There's earthquakes over in southern Italy here in the shoe of the boot here. This is the shoe of the boot here, the sole of the boot here in southern Italy. There's earthquakes down here. There's earthquakes in Sicily. Earthquakes up here in Italy as well. Earthquakes up here in Italy. We talked about a huge earthquake swarm down here on the southern coast of Italy. Why? Why are we going to have earthquakes here? Because, folks, we have a volcano here. We have a volcano here. And that volcano is going to erupt. This volcano is going to erupt. And we have earthquakes here as well. Okay? We have earthquakes here, and we have earthquakes on the other side of the continent here in Italy. Okay? We come up here on the other side of the Aegean Sea up here, and we have more earthquakes here in Slovenia, Croatia, Romania, all over this area. And yet USGS is not showing them. Earthquakes over here in the Alps Mountains, not showing those. Most of those earthquakes are all tremors. Minor earthquakes and tremors here in the Alps Mountains. They're not showing anything in France, Germany, Austria, or even Spain over here. None. None. It's a travesty. It's a travesty. If this agency really wanted to do its job, they would talk about earthquakes. They would explain what's going on here. But they're obviously not interested. They don't want to save lives. It used to be the primary objective of the USGS was to talk about earthquakes, show what's going on, and give advice to people so they could be protecting themselves, preparing to protect themselves. They're not doing it. They're not doing it at all. Let's go over here to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's still having earthquakes down here to the south. Okay? southwestern Puerto Rico here. We have a 2.3 earthquake here. Okay? This is near Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico. Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico. This is a 2.3 earthquake here. Over here north of Puerto Rico. This earthquake was dropped here by the Cayman Ridge earthquake zone. You can see the Cayman Ridge here to the north here. Okay? This Cayman Ridge earthquake region here comes out of Guatemala and continues eastbound until it goes south of the Cayman Islands, north of Jamaica. It skirts the southern side of Peru, goes east and north of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and over here in also north of Puerto Rico, north of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. It continues eastbound until it goes past the Virgin Islands here. Then it goes on the outskirts of the outlying islands here. It continues down here to the south. Then it turns over here, after it gets past the islands here, it turns westward into Venezuela. Heidi Petrick, thank you for that $10 super chat. God bless you, Heidi. We appreciate that so much. Appreciate that a lot. But that's where the Cayman Ridge goes. And yes, the Cayman Ridge carries earthquake seismic energy with it. We've seen it happen in the past. This earthquake north of Puerto Rico was dropped there by the Cayman Ridge, and that seismic energy came out of Guatemala, Central America. This is a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake here. Okay? Let's go over here to the Eastern Continental Divide here. United States. Sweetwater, Tennessee. Sweetwater, Tennessee. Just on the outskirts of South Carolina. This is a 1.7 tremor. Right next to this is a 2.0 earthquake. The 1.7 is a aftershock of this 2.0 minor earthquake here in Vonore, Tennessee. Vonore, Tennessee. Okay? 2.0 here, 1.7 there with it. It's in the Eastern Continental Divide. Okay, it's here in the Blue Ridge Mountains area. Eastern Continental Divide. What's important about that? Where I sit down here on the foothills of the Eastern Continental Divide, I'm sitting on the Atlantic Plate. Where I live here in North Carolina, I'm sitting on the Atlantic Plate. Okay? The Atlantic Plate is expanding. The Atlantic Plate is expanding from the center of the Atlantic Plate. It's pushing the North American Plate in a southwesterly direction. Greenland, Canada, and the United States and Mexico are being pushed in a southwesterly direction. The other day I showed you earthquakes here on the East Coast. Why do we have earthquakes here on the East Coast? Because of the Atlantic Plate expanding and pushing the North American Plate in a southwesterly direction, putting stress on the Eastern Continental Divide here. Putting stress here on the Eastern Continental Divide. That's why we're having earthquakes here. Okay? So now you know that. We're continuing having earthquakes over here in Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas. This is Tuttle, Oklahoma. Tuttle, Oklahoma. Folks, this is a minus 0.4 microquake. Now, why am I even pausing to talk about a minus 0.4? Why do you think? Because minus numbers in this seismic energy area indicate above sea level. Above sea level. I want to tell you this right now. This is 2.5 miles deep. Almost 3 miles deep here. This is not above sea level at all. Yes, we have some rolling hills here. I get that. But this is not above sea level. I have no clue why USGS continues to put minus numbers out here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, Kansas, northern Texas, and going up into Nebraska and Kansas. It's flatland. It's flatland. Very few hills or even mountains in this area. And yet we have a minus number here, indicating above sea level. It's not. This is a microquake here, but it's not above sea level. It's down deep within the crust of the earth here in the center part of the North American plate. It's in the center part of the North American plate. This is a 0.4 microquake here. Why? Why are we having earthquakes here? Let's zoom in here. I want to show you this. Look at this. It's not just one earthquake, guys. It's not just one earthquake. It's dozens of quakes here. Why? Because we have fracking operations here. Oil and gas pumping operations here. Look at all the oil and gas pumping operations here. Every pad here, whether it's active or not. Whether it's active or not. Okay? It's important to understand. Each one of these platforms here is where they drilled into the upper crust of the earth and down into an oil and gas area to pull oil and gas out of the crust here. These are fracking quakes. Fracking quakes. I want to pause here just for a minute. Heidi Petrick just gifted people here in our chat 5 Emergency Management Associates memberships. You have 1 month memberships here to our Emergency Management Associates family here on YouTube. Dynamo Hum, Deep Quake Paul, Kramer Wells, Double D, and Anna in Michigan received 1 month memberships from who else? Heidi Petrick. Heidi Petrick has been gifting 1 month memberships here to our EMA family. Please, folks, understand we have members only meetings. I hope tomorrow morning to have a members only meeting here again, where only members will be invited here. Okay? We love having members here in our program. We love that. If you received a membership here today, thank Heidi Petrick for that membership. It's beautiful. Heidi, thank you so much for that. God bless you. We appreciate that so much. Okay. Anyway, I've shown you the oil and gas platforms here. All of these earthquakes here. There's a huge swarm of earthquakes here. Huge swarm of earthquakes. These earthquakes were caused by nothing more than oil and gas fracking operations. Okay? Every hole where we have an oil and gas well here, the seismic energy comes here and fractures the rock in the hole, causing earth movement. Okay? Seismic energy comes across the plate here in Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. Fractures the rock in the hole that we've dug into the earth here to obtain oil. Fractures the rock here in that hole, causing earth movement. That's why we have these earthquakes here today. Now we probably have about 50 earthquakes here. I'm just going to touch on a couple of them to show you the magnitude. Most of these are going to be minor tremors and minor earthquakes. This is a 0.8 microquake here. We go north. This is again, and I don't get it here. I pointed this out a minute ago. This is the minus 0.3 microquake here. Again, this is 2.5 miles deep. It's not above sea level. It should never be a minus number. It should never be a minus number. This earthquake right here, they have is a minus 0.7 near Tuttle, Oklahoma. This again, it's 5.5 kilometers deep, nearly 3 miles deep here. nearly 3 miles deep. Okay? This is not a hillside. This is not a mountain range. This is deep within the earth here. You could expect possibly have minus numbers in mountain ranges such as the Cascades or the Rocky Mountains. You could expect that, but not here. Not here at all. Let's go farther north here. Okay, this is a minus 0.1. Interesting. Minus 0.1 microquake here. This is 3 kilometers, 1.5 miles southeast of Tuttle, Oklahoma. Tuttle, Oklahoma is right here. It's not southeast of anywhere. It's in Tuttle, Oklahoma here. Okay? That is a 0.1 microquake here. This is a 0.3 here. We go further north up here. This is a 0.1 they have. This is a minus number as well. It's not. This is 2.5 miles deep. Should not be a minus number anyway. This they have is a minus 0.3. It's a 0.3 microquake here. Right next to oil and gas operations here. You see them here. You see oil and gas operations all over this area. There are 583,000 oil and gas pumping operations, pumps and jacks throughout Oklahoma. 586,000 pumps and jacks throughout Oklahoma. It's no small wonder we have earthquakes here. We've had earthquakes here in Tuttle, Oklahoma before. This is nothing new. We go north here. Kingfisher, Oklahoma. We've also seen numerous earthquakes here in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. And in fact, there are at least 2 earthquakes here today. This is a 1.7 tremor here, right next to an oil and gas pad here, and this is also a 1.7 here, also right next to an oil and gas pad here. Fracking earthquakes. Fracking earthquakes. Now, there was about 3 years ago, there was a number of earthquakes here in Kingfisher, and they were not tremors. These are tremors here today. The earthquakes we had here several years ago were full-blown earthquakes. 3.5 to 4.5 earthquakes here in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. And as a result of those earthquakes, the founding fathers of the city council here in Kingfisher, said that they would not allow any more drilling operations to happen here in Kingfisher or anywhere near Kingfisher. Okay? The holes are already there. The holes in the ground are already here. You cannot help but have earthquakes here because of the drill holes, the drill points. Okay? Again, anytime the seismic energy comes through the country and it finds either a regular natural earthquake fault or a man-made fault, i.e. a hole in the ground caused by man drilling to either get oil or steam from a volcano. Anytime there's a drill point, the seismic energy finds that drill point and fractures the rock in the drill point, causing earth movement, which is an earthquake. That's what we see here. That's what we see here. Any questions about that? Any questions about that? We come down here to Texas. This is Westbrook, Texas. We've had many earthquakes here as well. This is a 2.1 earthquake north of here. This is a 1.5 in Snyder, Texas. Snyder, Texas, north of Westbrook, is a big place. Snyder, Texas has a bunch of oil and gas pumping operations, just as Westbrook does. These are also oil and gas fracking operation quakes. About 2 years ago, there was a 5.1, 5.3 earthquake here in Snyder, Texas. These earthquakes here are only aftershocks of those quakes. Aftershocks of those quakes. Oil and gas fracking operations causing these earthquakes here. Out here to the west, what do we have? More quakes here. 1.1 Stanton, Texas. We had a 5.0 here in Stanton, Texas last year. These are aftershocks. This is 1.6 Midland, Texas. Further north here, Ackerley, Texas. We also had a 5.0 here in Ackerley, Texas last year. Okay? More earthquakes down here to the southwest. Unreal. Toy, Texas. We always have earthquakes here in Toy, Texas. This is a 1.6 tremor here. We go northwest here. They say this is near Carlsbad, New Mexico. Carlsbad, New Mexico. What do we have here in Carlsbad? Can anybody tell me what we have going here in Carlsbad, New Mexico? Why do you think we'd have an earthquake here in Carlsbad, New Mexico? Anybody have any idea? There's a deep hole here in the earth here in Carlsbad, New Mexico. There's a deep hole here. Can anybody tell me what that deep hole is? There's a really deep hole here. It's a natural hole. This is a natural hole. It's called the Carlsbad Caverns. Carlsbad Caverns here. Okay? So when we have seismic energy hit this area, it causes the earth to shake here in Carlsbad, New Mexico. This is a small 3.0 earthquake. Small 3.0 earthquake. This is down beneath the hole though. This is way down beneath the hole. This is over 2 miles deep. This is actually 4 miles deep, over 4 miles deep here. Okay? I don't believe that hole in the ground in Carlsbad, New Mexico is 4 miles deep. I think it might be 1,000, 2,000 feet deep. Maybe a quarter of a mile deep. But we have a 3.0 earthquake here. Okay? Now, yes, those holes here, like the Carlsbad Caverns, go a lot deeper than any humans are allowed to go. Okay? They may or may not have explored that entire cave yet, but that cave also is there, and when seismic energy hits there, it causes Earth to move. They may have had to shut down this cave here to make sure it's still safe to go in there, considering this good size earthquake in here. Good size is a 3.0 or larger quake. Even amusement parks have to shut down if there's at least a 3.0 earthquake here. Anywhere. Okay? So Carlsbad, New Mexico got hit today. This is the first time I've seen an earthquake here in Carlsbad, New Mexico. I've been there. I've visited there several times. We see more earthquakes here in Southern California. A lot of earthquakes. Earthquakes here in northeast San Diego County. Why? Why? Because, folks, this is the Anza-Borrego Desert area. The Anza-Borrego Desert area has a lot of earthquakes. Why? Because of earthquake faults. Earthquake faults. The San Jacinto Fault and also the Elsinore Fault here. The Elsinore Fault. Right up here, this is La Quinta, northwest of Salton Sea. It's on the San Jacinto. This is the 1.0 here on the San Jacinto Fault. We go almost directly to the northwest here. Anza, California. Anza, California here is part of the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park in northeast San Diego County. Okay? That's a 1.1. 1.1 here. Okay? That's part of the San Jacinto Fault. Down here, Borrego Springs, also part of the San Jacinto Fault. But we come down here, okay, Ocotillo Wells, California. This is on the Elsinore Fault Zone. The Elsinore Fault Zone here. This is a 1.0 tremor. This earthquake I just got through showing you here is a 1.3 in Brago Springs, the Anza Brago Desert State Park, northeast San Diego County here. Up here, this is Fallbrook, California here. This is a 0.8 microquake here in Fallbrook, California, North San Diego County. North San Diego County. We go further out here to the east, okay? Idlewild, California. Idlewild, California, over here in the San Bernardino Mountains, okay? This is a 0.6 microquake. This is a 0.8 microquake. And this earthquake to the south, that's a 0.2 microquake. And guess what? More earthquakes here. Okay? This is 0.5 microquake. And this also is 0.9 1.0 tremor. Idlewild, California. Idlewild, California here, guys. Now, why am I concerned about that? This area is on the San Jacinto Fault. East here. What's this? What fault line goes down here through California, through the entire area of California, all the way down here? It's called the San Andreas Fault. One of the most dangerous fault zones in the world. One of the most dangerous fault zones in the world, and yet we're going to have a major earthquake here very, very soon. It's going to happen. We keep talking about it all the time. Why? Because I want to get you prepared for what's going to happen. You need to be very aware of what's happening around you. Come over here in LA. LA, Home Gardens, California, south of Los Angeles. This is a 1.4 tremor. Just out here, they have this as a 1.0 quarry blast. 1.0 tremor quarry blast. It's nowhere near a quarry. Quarries are further west over here. Okay? This is a 1.0 tremor here, right next to homes. This is a housing area. This is a housing area. This is not any more than, say, 900 feet from that housing area. 900 feet from that housing area. This is not a quarry blast. They do not have quarry blasts powerful enough to come be held over here at homes. If they did a quarry blast, these homes would probably be destroyed. This is a tremor beneath the earth. This is a quarter of a mile deep. 4.7 down in southern Peru again. 4.7 moderate earthquake down in southern Peru again tonight. Okay? But here we have a 1.0 tremor, a quarter of a mile deep here, just outside this housing area here. Home Gardens, California. Fascinating. It's not a quarry blast, USGS stuff lying to the public. This is Yorba Linda, California. This is east of Los Angeles, east of the city of Los Angeles, Yorba Linda. What's important about Yorba Linda, California? What is so important about Yorba Linda, California? We had a president of the United States that ran in 1968 for president of the United States. In 1974, he had to relinquish the presidency of the U.S. because they had him on criminal charges. The deep state got him they got him accused of criminal charges, and he removed himself from the presidency. The deep state. Richard Milhouse Nixon was born here in Yorba Linda, California. This is a 0.8 microquake. They downgraded that 4.8 in southern Peru to 4.5. Downgrade, downgrade, downgrade. Incredible. Yorba Linda, California is where President Richard Milhouse Nixon was born. We have a 0.8 microquake here, and it's 2 miles deep. 2 miles deep here. Los Angeles. We go over here near to the city of Los Angeles. Baldwin Hills. Where have you heard the Baldwin Hills before? From me. From me. What are the Baldwin Hills, guys? This is actually not in the Baldwin Hills. This is in a housing development just northeast of the Baldwin Hills. This is a 1.2 tremor here. 1.2 tremor here. This is actually nearly 4 miles deep here. 1.2 tremor nearly 4 miles deep here near the Baldwin Hills. Over here in the Baldwin Hills right here. Guess what we have? Yes, we have this earthquake here just south of the Baldwin Hills. What are the Baldwin Hills? These are oil and gas producing areas here. There are platforms all over the Baldwin Hills. This used to be a mountain range. They plowed down the mountain range and took and graded it down and put oil and gas producing plots, pumps and jacks all over the plots here. And now it's the Baldwin Hills oil refinery area. Okay? They pull oil out of the ground here in the Baldwin Hills. And you might ask, and we had this question asked of people earlier this week, why is Los Angeles subsiding? Why do we have homes breaking up here in Los Angeles? Why are floors and walls cracking here in Los Angeles? Because the oil and gas has disappeared out of the ground. They pumped the oil and gas, I can't say they pumped it dry because they're still pumping here. But as they pump the oil and gas out of the ground here, we get subsidence going on. Subsidence means the ground goes down. It's no longer up where it used to be. It's moved down towards the earth. Okay, that's why we get ground cracking in the foundations of the homes here. That's also why we get cracks in the walls. Happens all the time. The Baldwin Hills, guys. The good old Baldwin Hills. Okay? Any questions about this? Any questions about this? Over here, Malibu Beach. Malibu Beach, we have a 1.1 tremor here. We've had numerous earthquakes here at Malibu before. So this is nothing new. 1.1 tremor here in Malibu, California. Okay? Now, we see earthquakes up here in Northern California. This is pretty much normal. This is pretty much normal. Right here. Okay? This is just south of southwest of San Francisco Bay. What is this? This is a 1.7 tremor here. Why am I even talking about it? This is on the San Andreas Fault here. It's on the San Andreas Fault here. What else is here? This is a golf course, Pacifica, California. Pacifica, California. They have a Pro-Am golf tournament here at Pacifica, California. This is a 1.7 tremor here. This is 9.2 kilometers deep. Just over 4 miles deep here. It's on the western side of the San Francisco Bay Area, on the San Andreas Fault. We come over here to the east. We have an earthquake right here. This is Oakland, California. This is a 1.3 tremor here in Oakland, California. Guess what? It's on the Hayward Fault. This earthquake is on the Hayward Fault here. The earthquake that happened here in October 1989 was on the Hayward Fault. Devastated Los Angeles. Devastated San Francisco, I'm sorry. Not Los Angeles, but San Francisco. 6.9 earthquake here on the Hayward Fault. Today we have a 1.3 tremor here in Oakland, California. Go out here. This is a different fault zone. Calaveras Fault. This is a 1.2 tremor here in Diablo, California. Guess what's a Diablo? Nuclear power generation station here in Diablo Canyon. We go further north. This is a 0.9 microquake here. 0.9, 1.0 tremor here, over here in Clayton, California. Also in the Calaveras. We go further north here. This is Concord, California, also on the Calaveras. All three fault zones here, guys, all three fault zones here are dangerous fault zones. Three of the most dangerous fault zones in California are right here. The Calaveras, the Hayward, and the San Andreas Fault. And then over here in the north side of San Francisco Bay. Okay? They call this a quarry blast. And yes, this is at a quarry. This is at a quarry in San Francisco Bay. Right there. This is a 1.1 tremor here. 1.1 tremor here, a quarry blast near Santa Venetia, California. There is a quarry here at Santa Venetia, California. I find it very hard to believe that they would have a quarry here right at the edge of the bay. But they do. They do. This is not the only earthquake we've had here. It's not the only earthquake we've had here in Venetia, California. That's happened many times before. Up here to the north of San Francisco, we have the geysers here. A geothermal area here where men have dug into the upper magma chambers of the Clear Lake volcano here. They've dug into the upper magma chambers of the Clear Lake volcano to obtain steam to power turbines to generate electricity here in the geysers facility here. Generating electricity here in the geysers facility. That's why we have so many earthquakes here. Again, every time men drill into the surface of the earth, seismic energy finds those drill holes, finds those drill points, and it fractures the rock at the drill point, causing earth movement, earthquakes. That's what's going on here. This red earthquake here, this is Anderson Springs, also part of the geysers area. 1.3 tremor here. 1.3 tremor, just a little more than a half mile deep. That's what's going on here. North of Clear Lake here, we have another earthquake here, Pillsbury, California. Pillsbury continues to get hit here. 1.7 tremor here. Now I want to talk about preparedness during the rest of our time here on the channel today. Okay? Now, I want to ask you a question. Would you like me to speak about preparedness items that you need to have available in your home in case of an emergency or a disaster? Do you want me to talk about emergency preparedness kits, preparedness items you need to have in your home in case of an emergency or disaster? Or do you want me to talk about another subject that might affect you? What would you like me to talk about tonight? I've got hundreds of topics to talk about. Literally. Literally. Chrissy's asking, Chrissy 1000 here is asking, Mr. Ron, if I may ask, speaking of caverns and caves in California, have you heard of Mel's Hole in Washington State? Yes, I have. Mel's Hole became famous because of Art Bell. There was a gentleman that found Mel's Hole, and when Art Bell was alive, he had Coast to Coast AM program on the radio. Radio stations across the world, around the world, on the internet and over here in the United States covered Art Bell. And he had a gentleman that talked about Mel's Hole. I'm very familiar with Mel's Hole. Totally familiar with Mel's Hole. Catherine said, Ron, maybe cover the unusual things nobody thinks about that can save your life. Yeah, we can do that. Heidi Patrick is asking, Christy, where is that? It's in Washington State. Mel's Hole is a very deep hole in the ground. They have never tracked how deep it goes. They went and took a rock and wrapped the rock in rope and dropped down the hole, and it went down over 1,000 feet. They attached another long rope to it and dropped it down another 1,000 feet, and it continued to pull the rope down. Mel's Hole is a very deep hole, and they allegedly put a microphone down in Mel's Hole, and there's all kinds of eerie sounds coming out of Mel's Hole. Do I believe it? No. I don't totally believe what they say about Mel's Hole. Yes, it's possible. It's possible that there are sounds coming out of Mel's Hole. But knowing what I know about people, okay, it could be all made up. It could be all made up. Joanna Sagg says, thank you, everyone. So happy to be part of this. I appreciate that, Joanna. Thank you for being here. For those people that are here, please subscribe to our program. Click on that little subscription button at the top or just at the bottom of this video today. Click on that subscription button. That should get you subscribed to our program. Right next to that button is a little bell icon. Click on that. When you click on that little bell icon, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items. Click on the word ALL, all. Click on that word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air. But be advised, YouTube does not always notify everybody when we come on the air. My mods even. Sometimes they have to resubscribe because YouTube unsubscribes people even once or twice, 3 times a week. They even unsubscribe me, and I'm the owner of this channel. So make sure you're still subscribed to this channel, and make sure you also click on that bell icon to get notified when we come on the air. When we come on the air, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, every day, unless I say otherwise. Unless I have something important that I have to do, I may be late, or I may do an earlier program before 6 or 7 o'clock. On nights and Saturdays, mornings, and everything else, we may still come on the air if something happens that I think is noteworthy that we need to talk about to try to save somebody's life. We talked about fires. We talked about refinery fires. We talked about explosions. We talked about train explosions. Trains that derail and dump chemicals into the ground. And then what happened in Ohio? Can anybody remember what happened in Ohio just a couple years ago? A Norfolk Southern Railway train derailed in Ohio, carrying a toxic chemical. And the car that was carrying that chemical leaked. They dug a hole for that chemical to be in. Then somebody decided they were going to burn that chemical. They did not even bother checking this little book. There's an orange book out. I've got it in my 72-hour kit downstairs. I thought I had another copy here. No, I did not bring another copy here to my office. I think it's downstairs. There's a little book that talks about every chemical that's ever been made. And talks about what you can do, what you should not do when that chemical is exposed. And what can happen if that chemical is exposed to the air. Sometimes if a chemical is exposed to oxygen, it'll blow up. Other times it can be very volatile. You cannot burn it. You cannot expose it to heat or fire because it'll explode. Well, guess what? Somebody decided to put that chemical on fire. It exploded, and it spread toxic chemical in the air. The fire and the smoke spread the toxic chemical in the air. It wasn't bad enough that the toxic chemical was spread on the ground, through the groundwater, and ground through the earth. That chemical spread through the ground into the water supply, into nearby creeks, and into the Ohio River. Totally polluting the river, totally polluting the creek. They've allegedly I say that very, very firmly, allegedly, because I don't believe they've even done anything. Allegedly, they have gone through that town. I'm not going to tell the name of the town again. Most of you know who I'm talking about, what I'm talking about. But they've gone through that town, excavated the chemical out of the ground, and took it to a toxic dump. Took it to a toxic dump. But not before that chemical leached into the water supply. Unreal. Causing all kinds of problems. All kinds of problems. Yeah, vinyl chloride. Anything with the word vinyl in it is extremely toxic. Catherine just put that in the chat. And yet some yo-yo got it in their mind to burn it. Burn it. What a bunch of crap that is. That's the last thing they should have done. Some of the people I've worked with in the past, some of the people that know better than that, still make stupid decisions. That chemical should never have been burned. It should never have been put in that hole. It should have been captured. That chemical should have been captured, and it was not done. Not captured in a hole, but captured safely, which it could have happened. But they didn't do it. Unreal. Unreal. I've seen stupid things happen before. This is nothing new. I've seen so many things happen over the years, it's not even funny. Don Patoka says PSYOP, yeah. Big, huge PSYOP. Big, huge PSYOP there. You know, I've had, over the years, I have had agencies call me. What happens when this happens? What would you do? Have you gone through that little orange book? Just a little orange book. Have you gone to the orange book and looked at what you should do if you were exposed to that toxic chemical? What you do with the chemical? I don't know how many times that I've had to talk to people about this. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. And yet, men are still doing stupid things, killing people. And I think they burn that chemical to kill people. Okay, that's my honest opinion. I believe they burn that chemical to spread that chemical through the water supply, the groundwater, and out into the atmosphere. The air was polluted out into Pennsylvania, all the way out east into Pennsylvania and New York. Incredible what happened. And it's not just that. The air was also polluted out over the Atlantic Ocean, and possibly even over into Europe. In Europe. They did not have to do that. That should never have happened. I don't know. I got so mad at Norfolk Southern. I got mad at the authorities in Ohio. I talked to the governor. I talked to the mayor there. The mayor was totally unaware of how they should have handled it. The mayor should have been totally aware. Their emergency manager should have told the mayor what to do. And yet that didn't happen. Did not happen. Catherine says the more the chemical burned, the less cost for cleanup. It's what they wanted. And money for the people. Let's talk about the money for the people there in Ohio. FEMA gave them $750 to shut up. FEMA gave them $750 to shut up. Norfolk Southern may have paid them some more depending on where they were. Norfolk Southern forked out some money as well. But it's a little too late. A little too late. Unreal. Don Patoga says, Ron certainly suggested why somebody untrained were a terrorist. I agree. But the railroad knew how to handle that chemical or they would not have transported it. The railroad knew how to handle that chemical or they would not have transported it. Someone else took charge there in Ohio. Someone else took charge in Ohio. Stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. Now, the first time we ever heard the name J.D. Vance, a brand new congressman 2 years ago. He was a congressman in Ohio. He went there to the town and he stuck a stick in the ground in the creek downstream from the fire and downstream from the chemical derailment. The chemical had already leached over that creek. About a week and a half later, the chemical had already leached through the ground over that creek and into the Ohio River. Then they tested water in the Ohio River and realized that the chemical had leached into the river as well. Stupid is as stupid does. Incredible. And now J.D. Vance is the vice president of this nation. Incredible. Literally incredible. Anyway, I have all kinds of things I could talk about tonight. Literally. All kinds of things we could talk about. I have topics such as earthquakes. We could talk about shelters, active shooters. We've talked about Cascadia recently, so I don't want to go there. We could talk about emergency communications. We could talk about emergency planning, which we did last week. We could talk about EMPs. We could talk about FEMA death camps. I'd rather not, but we could. We could talk about fires. We could talk about flooding. Yeah, Catherine, that was him. J.D. Vance. And yes, I do like J.D. Vance. Heather's asking, we like J.D. Vance? Yes, I do. We talk about how to handle flooding. Hurricane preparedness. We have preparedness checklists here. I came prepared tonight to talk about preparedness checklists. In the recent past, within the last few weeks, we talked about sheltering in place. And sheltering in place is probably one of the best things you could do rather than bugging out. If you have to bug out, you have to bug out. But me, I would rather shelter in place. Shelter in place, one, because it's a familiar place to be. And if I don't have to leave there, I'm going to protect my home. I'm going to protect my home at all costs. I'm going to make that home a fortress where nobody can get in but my family, and that's it. Catherine's World's here saying we're on our own in emergencies. She's wondering what kind of gas mask or respirator is best to survive. Even chlorine leaks. I'm going to tell you this. You need to have a respirator or a mask rated at N95. At least at N95 or N100. Now, when we talked about the word MASKS back about 3 years ago, YouTube slapped my hands and took my program off the air. Because heaven forbid I talk about protection, how to protect yourself. When I used the word MASKS, they took my program off. Joe Biden's FBI had been told to go over to talk to social media outlets and censor us. And yet, everything I talked about, everything I ever talked about on my last channel, on my first channel, was correct. Everything I talked about was correct, and yet they said it was false information. Incredible. Incredible. In order to protect yourself from toxic chemicals or toxic anything in the air, you need to have at least an N95 mask and or a respirator. I have an Army gas mask here in one of my preparedness plastic bins here in my home. I've got an Army field mask here with several canisters to help me get through any time period. I used it once when I used it a lot when I was going through areas of San Diego or Denver where the police had sprayed CS gas, tear gas into the atmosphere to disperse crowds, and we had to go in there and make arrests. I wore gas masks then. I still have my same mask. Yes, I've wiped it down, cleaned it up, and I still have more canisters here. And if I use the canisters, I'll get new canisters for it. I also have a respirator here. I totally believe in gas masks. I totally believe in respirators. I totally believe in N95 or N100 masks. Totally believe in that. Ernie Martinez says an N100 face mask with a 24-hour separate air pump filter is great. I agree. You're absolutely right, Ernie. Absolutely right. But you at least need an N100 or N95. The very least. Now, why do I say that? One of the things we found with COVID, okay, those tiny particles, those tiny virus particles can penetrate right through surgical masks. If someone, a doctor, a nurse, or anyone else is wearing one of those surgical masks, particles can go right through those paper masks, right through those membranes of the paper mask. When you wear those masks, anybody that wears those paper masks, they become saturated with your breath. Those masks become saturated with water from your body through your mouth and nose. Once those masks are saturated, they're no good. They're absolutely trash. Okay? And when I talked about it, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I heard that a lot. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I do. I used to be an EMT. I worked in hospitals. I worked on ambulances. I had my own police ambulance at one time. And even after that, when I was a police officer and had to attend for emergency situations, I wore a mask. Unreal. And yet, YouTube and others said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I do. Been there, done that. Hurricane Heather says a wet bandana is safer. I don't think so. Why do I say that? The little tiny holes in the fibers will allow viruses and any other particles through. Yes, smoke. Yes, you can, even if you're wearing a bandana, you're going to get particles of smoke through the fibers of that bandana. But the toxic particles of smoke, you'll become you'll get some benefit of shielding through bandanas. Yes, you will. But if you will really want to get protected, wear an N95 Red 100 mask. Fact. Hurricane Heather says in a wildfire, a wet bandana is safer. That's a possibility. I have several bandanas here I use for cooling, and I also use over my face if necessary. I do. I have those bandanas in my drawers in my bedroom. Okay? I think I also have a couple bandanas in one of my storage bins here that I use for preparedness. Okay? Catherine says, for just a few hours, it's probably fine. Then you must change it or wash it thoroughly. Whenever I change it, I've also washed it thoroughly. That way I can use that band again and again and again. Always wash your bandanas. Keep them clean. Any other questions like that? I'm happy to answer any questions or talk about any kind of preparedness topic at all. I'm in the process of writing a book, just so you guys know. Over the years, I've done a lot of preparedness talks. I've talked at preparedness fairs. I've done preparedness talks in various cities and counties all over the United States. I've been in 39 states. I've given talks all over the world, all over the country. Not the world, but all over the country. I know what I'm talking about. At least I think I do. Yes, guys, if you have the opportunity after you get through watching this program tonight, go over and show Catherine's World on YouTube some love. Subscribe to her channel and also hit that notification bell with her channel. Catherine's World puts out all kinds of wildfire information. Catherine's World puts out all kinds of wildfire information. She's great. Okay? We have another man that's not in our chat tonight, Brokefish Hen. Most of you have seen him here in the chat. He's a wonderful guy as well. He's also a former firefighter. He's also got a lot of experience, and he's put out great fire information in Oregon and Washington. He's awesome. He's a very dear friend of mine. Catherine, thank you for that. Catherine says, thank you for my show. I came on the air 6 years ago. April 3rd will be 6 years. Talked nothing but earthquakes. But all of a sudden, all over the world, we started having all kinds of emergencies. So I started talking about all kinds of things, not just earthquakes. I talked about hurricanes. I talked about fires. I talked about earthquakes. I've talked about wind, tornadoes. I've talked about explosions, train derailments. I talk about shooting. I'm an ex-cop. I'm an ex-police officer, former police officer. I've been involved in active shooting scenarios. I know all about them, unfortunately. And I talk about those. I want to make sure that people have the information they need in case of an emergency. That's why I do what I do. Brokefish is here. We're just talking about you. Brokefish is a very dear friend of mine. I've known him for several years now, and we've become very close friends. Awesome. That's one of my kids calling for my wife and I. I can join that conversation a little bit later. Does anybody have any pertinent questions to anything we've been talking about? I'll be happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Okay? I'm more than happy to talk about anything you'd like to talk about. They say I'm a expert, a subject matter expert. I have to laugh sometimes because, like I said, they call me a subject matter expert. An expert is a person, a has-been who is under pressure. They call an expert someone that is a has-been under pressure. Yes, I've been referred to as a subject matter expert on more times than not. Yes, I do have a good knowledge of emergencies and disasters. I've been in, I don't know, I think I've participated in the aftermath of 3 hurricanes, many tornadoes. I don't even want to count the number of tornadoes. I've been at the tornado site after the fact. When I lived in North Dakota as a young man, we watched tornadoes come through Fargo all the time. So, quite frankly, I have a lot of experience with tornadoes as well. Crazy as it is, I have a lot of experience with tornadoes. I hate saying that because as soon as I start talking about that, something else will happen. And then I'll have to go and try to figure out what happened and then talk about it from there. Every tornado, every weather event is different. There are no two tornadoes that are the same, just as there's no 2 earthquakes, no 2 hurricanes, or anything else the same. They're completely different. They're completely different, and they need to be handled different. Just like flooding, just like fires. Every subject like that needs to be handled different. It's incredible. It's incredible. Catherine's asking, did I work for FEMA? No. I used to work for Homeland Security. Okay? I started working for DOD Police in San Diego. I was a federal police officer. Now people would refer to me as a military cop. I was not. I was a federal police officer. Okay? When I moved to Denver in April 2000. I was a federal police officer then for Homeland Security. Okay? I became a federal police officer for Homeland Security. I worked for the Federal Protective Service Police. We had huge jurisdictional issues. We had huge jurisdictional issues in San Diego because at first we got dispatched to military bases for law enforcement security matters, and then it wasn't just that. We got dispatched to Social Security offices, we were dispatched to the FBI office in San Diego, various other things, and the ATF. In Denver, I was dispatched to Social Security offices and ATF all the time, and also the FBI office in Denver. Denver has several locations where they have federal offices. They either lease space from some non-governmental organization, they lease a building space or whatever, and then they put federal employees in it. Anytime you have a place with federal employees, you have to have security or at least law enforcement capable people to be able to respond there during an emergency. That's what we did. We responded to all kinds of emergencies and disasters, not just federal emergencies. We never just responded to federal emergencies. We did every job any other police department would do, except we got paid by the government. That was the difference. I was a federal police officer. I worked with all kinds of departments, literally all over this country. When Hurricane Katrina happened, they asked us in Denver how many of us would like to relocate temporarily in New Orleans to handle law enforcement duties in New Orleans. Because I was a ham radio operator, they asked me to also kind of take charge of this mobile command post that we had that they had put down there. And it was stayed just outside the area of the hurricane, and after the hurricane moved through, they moved the mobile command post out to the 9th Ward in New Orleans. And I was kind of in charge of the command post. Okay? I also went out with Federal Protective Service police because New Orleans police, before the hurricane, took off. And most of them never came back. So they had to bring federal police in there to help New Orleans police patrol the areas. That's what we did. That's what we did. We had officers from New York. We had officers from here in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, everywhere. Move into Louisiana. Bossier, Louisiana, New Orleans, and various other places. Okay? But I was in charge of the communications command post in New Orleans, in the 9th Ward. And right after we set up the command post and had everything going, we were sleeping outside the command post in tents. Then FEMA came in. When FEMA came in, they set up what they call a Disaster Recovery Center, a DRC. A DRC. You may remember back after Hurricane Katrina, we had a lot of people who were homeless after the hurricane. They put mobile home trailers over in the DRC area, around where our command post was. Those trailers had new carpet in them, which contained formaldehyde. And that formaldehyde was outgassing from the carpet. And people got sick, very sick. One person died. One person died. They had to realize they could no longer put brand new carpet inside mobile homes or anywhere else, because carpet has all kinds of chemicals, including formaldehyde. Really bad stuff. Really bad stuff. So I've kind of seen a lot of stuff. I also saw a New Orleans police officer. Get this. I saw a New Orleans police officer go over to a Walmart in New Orleans and loot the place. Loot the place. He helped looting the place. There was other New Orleans citizens and citizens from everywhere else looting Walmart. That police officer carried out a television and other stuff out to his car. Guess what? We arrested him. We arrested him. Unreal. Also, something else that New Orleans police did after Katrina. They decided they were going to go door to door around New Orleans and talk to citizens about giving up their guns. Not just giving up, confiscating their guns. That was against the law. There was a New Orleans police lieutenant, a captain, and several other officers, including a couple of sergeants, that we took into custody, because that's against the law. What they were doing was against the law. It's unreal what we saw happen in New Orleans. Incredible. So I've kind of seen a lot. I've kind of seen a lot throughout my years. Stuff that I would not normally have seen had I been someplace else at the time. But it's crazy. It's crazy. So yes, I am in the process of compiling all the information that I have, that I've written down, that I put in my computer files, and I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. But I try to give that information out right now, so people have that information so they can make decisions to save their lives before or during an emergency. Because when you are in the middle of an emergency, Many people are not thinking clearly. You can't. You're under all kinds of pressure, all kinds of stresses happening, and things are getting thrown at you right and left. You can't possibly think completely clearly. So you have to prepare for these situations. You have to have the knowledge. You even have to write it down. Okay? A couple weeks ago, I showed you a binder that I put together that has my family's emergency preparedness plan in it. I have written probably well over 100 emergency preparedness plans for people, businesses, and communities. I've written over 100 preparedness plans through my life. I'm very good at it. I'm an expert. But that's why I've talked to you all about writing preparedness plans. When I had talked about it a couple weeks ago, I gave you topics, things that you might want to include in your plan. Very good ideas. But I've even taken those things that I told you about and broke them down and added to that preparedness plan subheadings under those topics. A preparedness plan is just a plan. It's a plan. And a plan can be revised at any time. Anytime. And when I talked about preparedness planning a couple weeks ago, I told everybody, make that plan active. Make sure your entire family has access to your preparedness plan. And don't just put it on the shelf and forget it. Don't just put it up on the shelf and forget it. Take it down. Read through it. You may have to revise anything and everything in that plan. If you do, revise it, type it up again, put it together, and put it back into the plan. Don't just take it out and throw it away. Revise it and make sure it's still part of your plan. While you're revising it, you can write things into it. Write things into it. And if you take something or want to revise something or completely take it out, use only one line. Use a pen and run one line through the middle of it. And then on the outside of that line, write in what you want to show there. That way you're revising it. The information is still correct and it's still there. So if you have an emergency before you have a chance to type everything up again, the information is still there in your plan. If you have a business, the same thing applies to your business. Make sure every manager in your business has a copy or has access to your preparedness plan. And every employee should also have access to that preparedness plan. If you write a plan, share it with your management team. Then get all of your employees and your management team together at a meeting and go over the plan with them. Ask them any questions. Ask them for contributions to the plan. They might have ideas that you might want to incorporate in your plan. The same thing with your family. They might have ideas you want to incorporate in your plan because they are involved. They're part of your family. They're part of your business. Okay? Unreal. And yes, I get kind of worked up sometimes when I talk about things. That's because I've seen people die because they've not done what I told them to do. And I'm not hard on them. Yes, I advise people to do certain things. But I'm only giving that advice because I want people to survive. I want people to work through their plan and come out the other side smelling somewhat like a rose. I want them to survive. I don't want them to die during an emergency. That's not necessarily necessary. Not everyone has to die. Just like I used to tell people I trained out on the street, not everyone deserves a ticket. Not everyone deserves a ticket. Not everyone desires to die. You don't have to do that. We can save lives here. We can save lives. Gene's here. Thank you, Gene, for being here. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Okay? Now, I've survived active shooting events. I've been part of active shooting events. I've talked to businesses. I've talked to families. I've talked to neighborhoods about active shooter events, because shooting events don't happen just in businesses. They happen in neighborhoods. They involve families, and everybody needs to know about it. That's one of the things I've done. I'm a subject matter expert. But again, not every situation is the same. Not every situation is the same, and not every situation should be handled the exact same way. So if you're ever involved in any one thing, remember, how you might respond to it might not be how I would respond to it or anybody else. Or you might respond to it differently during this given situation than this situation here. Remember that. Write your information down. Take notes. Make notes. Make notes. When I was a cop, I carried a notebook in my back rear pocket. I carried a notebook. I took notes about a lot of things. And I kept those notebooks even today. I've never got rid of those notebooks. Those notebooks are in a safe in my closet. They're not for everybody to see because they have confidential information in them. But I've kept every notebook. Every notebook. Catherine is asking, Ron, what are the biggest mistakes people make in a crisis? Oh my gosh, that's huge. That's huge. 1, they don't have enough food. 2, they make silly mistakes because they haven't thought how to handle a certain thing. That's why you have to make plans. You have to plan for disasters. You have to plan for emergencies. And like I said, not every not every emergency can be handled the same way. I see people do all kinds of stupid things, putting their lives in danger. Putting their lives in unnecessary danger. Don't do it. Just like I've told people not to drive through puddles out on roadways. Because if you drive over a roadway that's overflowed with water, you don't understand that roadway could be damaged. Underneath the pavement, the water may have gotten underneath that and undermined the pavement. There might be a sinkhole down there. If you drive over that pavement and the water's going over it, guess what? Your car is going to fall in that sinkhole. I tell people not to walk through deep water because they may be swept away. It takes 6 inches of water that's flowing. 6 inches of flowing water can knock you off your feet and sweep you downstream. Don't do it. Don't drive through it. Don't walk through it. Save your life. If you see somebody there, get them out of the water. Don't let them risk their lives. Never send somebody in the water alone. Never send somebody in the water alone. Make sure that if you're going to do a water rescue, make sure you're tied off with someone else or several other people. So once you reach the person you're trying to rescue, you can be pulled all back. They can pull you all back out of the situation. It's not just water. It's not just water. This could be almost anything. Don't risk your lives. Don't put yourself in situations unnecessarily. Deaths in floods, deaths in hurricanes occur in vehicles. They occur in houses. Why do you think they ask people that when a hurricane comes through or a tornado comes through to stay away from the windows? Stay away from the outer walls of the house. Go to the inner part of your house. Because you have more shielding from the storm. You have more shielding, more walls around you to help protect you. That's why. That's why. Double check all your stuff. Tinny Pearls here in the chat says double check your stuff. All of it. Double check your emergency preparedness kits. Double check your 72-hour kits. Double check your go bags. Double check everything. Your vehicle. Your vehicle could be your mainstay if you have to evacuate. Whenever you go out to the vehicle, out to your car, your truck, whatever it is, check and make sure you have emergency equipment in your vehicle. Emergency equipment. Could be as simple hoist to hoist your car up in the air and a tire iron to help you hoist your car in the air, and some wrenches to get the lug nuts up your tire to change your tire. Make sure you have a viable spare tire as well. Make sure you have extra fluid for your radiator. You might have a radiator leak, or your radiator uses radiator fluid. Make sure you keep water and or antifreeze for your car. Have tools in your car. Have tools in your car. Have an emergency preparedness kit for your car. A preparedness kit for your car will save you your time, may save your life. The preparedness kit for your car is a little bit different than your preparedness kit for home. But they also might have survival food. They could have energy bars in case you get stalled someplace where you can't get right to food right away, so you have something to eat. You might also want in the winter some candles in your car. If you light up a candle in your car, make sure you have your windows rolled down a little bit to keep the smoke from building up in your car and keep you alive. Don't burn candles or anything else in your car because of carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide will build up and kill you. Don't do it. Don't do it. You might also want to have a shovel. In the winter, you might want to have kitty litter. If you get swept off the road by the wind on a snowy road or ice, the kitty litter or sand in the back of your car could help you get back on the road. Help give you traction, get back on the road. Also, the weight from the kitty litter and or the sand in the back of your car, in a bag in the back of your car, could also keep you on the road. More weight in the back of your car, especially on icy roads, could help you. Could help you keep you on the road, and also, if you got, excuse me, if you get off this side of the road, it can help give you traction to get back on the road. Shovel, sand, kitty litter in your car, coats in your car, blankets in your car in the winter. We're still in the winter. We're in March. You can change things out during the different seasons, but I'm giving you the basics. I'm trying to give you the basics here. Brokefish N says he has a lot of rescue training. He reminds people, do not do what I do. Okay? I tell people the same thing. Don't do necessarily everything I do. But keep what I do in mind. It might help you. Don't do what I do and think of saving people. Because what I do, because of my training, might get you in trouble. If you're going to do anything, make sure you have the necessary training to do it. Don't just do something because you've seen somebody else do it. That could land you in a lot of trouble. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Yes, I have a lot of rescue training, rescue from all kinds of things. I have that training. But don't do everything that I would do. Okay? I jokingly tell people, if you see me do something, don't do what I do. And if you do, don't get caught. Okay? I jokingly say that, but it's true. Whatever you do, be safe with whatever you do. Make sure you have the training to do what I do, or don't do it. Titty Pearl says, I didn't know that my car had lug nut locks on the wheels. Yeah, you do. And you also need a special wrench to loosen those lug nuts, because their lock on your wheel keep people from stealing your tire. And I've seen that happen too. You don't know how many people that I've arrested trying to steal cars or tires off cars, and steal license plates off cars, or license plate tags off of cars, or even military tags off of vehicles. One morning I came out to my truck in East County, San Diego, in Lakeside where I used to live. Some yo-yo, some kid was trying to steal my military decal that I had on my personal vehicle, because I used my car, my personal vehicle, my truck, as a rescue vehicle, as a police vehicle. I was a chief accident investigator. So sometimes I had to leave my house in my own private-owned vehicle, and go to a scene. So sometimes I had to have a military vehicle tag on my vehicle to go on to military bases. And one morning I came out there and some yo-yo was trying to steal my military tag off my car. Guess what? He went to jail. He went to jail. Those tags are worth $100. Each military tag is worth $100. He also was stealing registration tags off of license plates. He had $1,800 of license plate tags in his pocket. He also had possession of burglary tools, razors, screwdrivers, and pliers, called burglary tools. Unreal. He went to jail. He went to jail. And I won't tell you what I did before I put him in jail. That could also get you in trouble. Don't do what I did. Okay? Don't do what I do. At least I have the training. Any other questions? I know I've talked a lot about different things tonight, but I want to make sure you have the necessary information you need for a given emergency. This is important. This is very important. Any other questions here? I know we're at 2 hours now, but if I'm able to answer a question before I leave the program, I'd appreciate being able to do that. If I can help just one person survive a disaster or an emergency, then we've done our job. We have quite a few people here, which I'm grateful for. I'm very grateful for everybody that's here. Catherine is here saying the number one way to protect your home from wildfire or catching from a house fire next door is upgrading your attic to fireproof soffit and attic vents. Upgrade your attic to fireproof soffit and attic vents. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Brokefish is asking, so when do you think your book will be out and will it have a checklist? Oh yes, it will have several checklists. It will have several checklists. It will have preparedness checklists for different kinds of emergencies, because no one emergency is the same. No one emergency is the same. You'll have all kinds of checklists. I started writing my book, I want to say, oh gosh, 15 years ago. And yes, I have revised it sometimes. I have added to it. I've got so many topics, it's not funny. I cover a little bit of everything. Catherine's also said, and then tell your insurance company for a possible insurance discount. Absolutely right. Your insurance company will help you if you let them. You have to have homeowners insurance. It doesn't matter whether you have a home that you own or a home that you rent. You need to have renter's insurance as well to help cover the contents of your home, the inside contents of your home. Okay? That at least will help you get into something newer at some point in time. If you lose everything, you'll at least have someplace else to go and start reestablishing your life. Insurance will never suffice and cover everything. Won't do it. Won't do it. But insurance is helpful. Insurance is helpful. Okay, guys, it's getting late. I don't want to go too much longer, but I wanted to give you some information here. This last week, I've been talking about laps of my life. What I've been doing, things I'm suggesting help you and get you through hard times in your own life. As you all know, I'm a Christian man. I've got Christian values. And more than anything, I want to help people. Life is pretty much an unpredictable dance. Very much an unpredictable dance. Life has a unique way of sprinkling obstacles amidst different kinds of terrain that we're on. Sprinkling obstacles all over the place. Whether we are in a dance recital, whether we are at a movie theater, walking through the parking lot, or running. There are all kinds of obstacles that might be in our way. Any kind of life. Any part of your life may have obstacles. Any kind of terrain. Most of the time we have smooth terrain, but occasionally the terrain gets pretty rocky. Okay? These interruptions and setbacks. These interruptions and setbacks, as we commonly call them, can either halt our journey or propel us with a new renewed vigor, or it might slow us down. Commonly, whenever I talk to people about this kind of stuff, I tell people I get slowed down, but I don't stop. You may have to slow down, but don't stop. Stay on the covenant path. Stay on the covenant path with God. Okay? Yes, we're going to have interruptions. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have obstacles that we're going to encounter. But don't let them stop you. They may slow you down a little bit, but don't let them stop you. Continue on the covenant path. Okay? Now, obstacles might just depend on how we perceive them. Obstacles might depend on how we perceive them. As Mary Kay once said, a setback is a setup for a comeback. A setback is a setup for a comeback. Now, I've given the next ideas out before. I've talked about ill-fated boot camps. During my third lap of my life, the lap I often associate with scaling the heights of success. Scaling the heights of success. Sealing them. What do I mean by sealing them? Scaling the heights of success and then making it so I don't fall back down. Sealing my success. Making sure I don't fall back down. Okay? Now, occasionally we might meet with an unsuspected challenge. That's normal. An enthusiastic step during boot camp class at my local gym or my police academy. They led to broken bones. They led to sprained ankles and sprained feet. The healing process, although seemingly straightforward, could be long or short, given each of us and our own infirmities or how we heal. Okay? But each individual challenge gives birth to a chronic adversary. Each challenge could give birth to a critical chronic adversary. Plantar fasciitis in the way of feet. I had plantar fasciitis many times throughout my life, especially once I was a traffic accident investigator, on my feet all the time. For someone like me, whose life was full of constant motion, I was always active and on the go. Having plantar fasciitis in my feet was a physical ailment, but it was not an emotional trial. I never let it be or become an emotional trial. In other words, control how you feel. Control what you're going through. Stay in control of your life. However the setback might be, those setbacks can also be awakening. While this injury, plantar fasciitis, forced me to reevaluate certain aspects of my life and how I encountered them. Running, walking, staying on my feet. I had to reevaluate how I was going to approach those events. It also rekindled something else. Right before I became an accident investigator, I became part of a bicycle team at my police department. We were on bicycles. When I found out that I couldn't run as much as I really wanted to, I started riding a bike again. So that rekindled my love of bicycling. And one of these days will get me another bike. But I was forced to reevaluate how I continued during doing some of my aspects of my life. Now, sometimes I had to have sheer determination. Sheer determination to get through it, or to sometimes even get started. I had to modify some of my regimes, how I approach things. I was able to nourish my passion for running and bicycling, and ensuring that the setback that I had with my feet was not an end to my experience. Not an end to my experience. It was an obstacle that I had to encounter and overcome. But what I'm asking you all is to be able to overcome. You might encounter obstacles, but you need to be able to overcome them as well. Okay? Now, one of my buddies lives in Denver, Colorado. In fact, the friend of mine that wrote this book, his name's Jim Urban. He also loves a bicycle. He likes bicycling a lot more than most. Jim Urban loves to go on high altitude bicycle rides, 10,000, 11,000 feet above sea level. He completed an intense high altitude bicycle ride up to Leadville, Colorado. I never rode a bicycle up there, however, I drove up there. Leadville, Colorado was high up in the mountains of Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains. When he was bicycling, he said he achieved a achievement on his horizon. There was challenges along his route of bicycling that he achieved until he got to the horizon of the roadway, got to his horizon. He said his right eye had suffered and served him faithfully over the years. But all of a sudden his right eye had signs of distress. Okay? The hemorrhaging within his eye obscured his vision, rendering his peripheral vision out here to the side dim. Okay? His once sharp vision world became a little blurry around the edges. He said instead of wallowing in despair, he chose to view this challenge through a different lens. What might seem for us like a loss, what might seem for us a loss, really was not. That loss of sight in his peripheral vision was just a setback, an obstacle that had been thrown in his path. For him, it was a profound reminder to cherish what he has and live with gratitude. And with these remaining faculties, have even greater enthusiasm. And that's all I'm asking for all of us. We may have obstacles thrown in our path, but as we overcome those obstacles, and yes, we can overcome those obstacles, we continue down our covenant path with an enthusiastic mindset, renewed enthusiasm, greater enthusiasm at the end. Okay? Or comeback. When I saw President Trump win this last election, it was like the comeback kid. A renewed vision for life. That's how I saw this last election. A renewed vision for life. His and all of ours. These setbacks, though how physical limiting they might be physically limiting in certain areas of our life. But don't let them diminish your spirit. Don't let these obstacles diminish your spirit. Instead, these obstacles may have provided a stark backdrop against which our determination may even be shown brighter. Our determination to finish the race may be even brighter. Light at the end of the tunnel. Okay? The physical limitations served as a poignant reminder to not take life as a bad thing, as a limitation. To use whatever we encounter as a blessing. Don't take your blessings for granted either. Don't take your blessings for granted. Every morning I wake up. Every morning I wake up and look at it as an opportunity. An opportunity that the Lord has given me for a new day. An opportunity to do something else even more powerful. An opportunity to help you, an opportunity to help other people. That's how I look at every day. I'm grateful for every day. I realize the setbacks and the obstacles that have been thrown in my path. They're not there for punishments, but they are nudges that the Lord has given me to overcome the things that are thrown in my path. Nudges. I force myself to overcome my obstacles. I continue using those obstacles as nudges to move forward. Okay? Sometimes I look at this as newfound understanding. Newfound understanding. My comeback. My own personal comeback. When I first retired from law enforcement, I was wondering, what in the heck am I going to do? Yes, I continued doing emergency management and emergency preparedness. But I looked at, what am I going to do? How can I affect someone else's life in a positive manner? I gave myself new physical recovery opportunities. Gave myself new physical opportunities. Ideas. It gave me more gumption to continue. More gumption to help other people. More ways to help people. That's how I look at every day. Another way to help someone else. Help someone else make a lasting impact. That's what I want you to do. I want you to look at money for you to have a lasting impact on somebody else. Okay? Now, for me, again I'm talking me, and this can be all of you as well. For me, these obstacles were also spiritual. And they also gave me a spiritual and emotional resurgence when I was able to overcome these obstacles that were thrown in my path. It gave me a spiritual and a physical resurgence aimed at making me have a lasting impression on my own life and try to help others, me make a lasting impact on them. Everybody around me. Lasting impact on you. That's why I do this program. This program is an international program. When I first started it 6 years ago, I looked at it trying to help my community, trying to help different people in different states, trying to help people around me, which it has, but to the outside world. People saw these setbacks possibly as something that might hold me back, stop me, which they never have. Again, my setbacks may have slowed me down for a time, but they never stopped me. Don't look for reasons for despair. Don't look for reasons for despair. Look for hope. Hope smiling brightly before us. Hope smiling brightly before us. In the grand narrative of my life, these obstacles have become chapters. These obstacles that I've encountered have become chapters of my life's book. These obstacles have amplified my entire resolve to keep moving forward. These obstacles have been lessons in my life. Lessons in resilience, lessons in humility, determination, and the profound human ability to move forward. To me, it was a huge thing. A profound human ability to move forward. I didn't have to stop. I might have to slow down for a time, but I don't have to stop. No matter what happens, no matter what happens, no matter what adversity you might find in your life, use that adversity as hope.
Location offshore El Salvador. Class light magnitude 4.2. 8 minutes ago.
4.2 earthquake in El Salvador 2 minutes ago. Use adversity in your life as hope. Look at it as hope in your life. My aim in my life henceforth is to become a beacon for those around me who might encounter setbacks in their own lives, your life. One of the things I want to say is I aim to prove every stumble, every obstacle that I encounter can be transformed into a leap forward. Every encounter can be transformed into a leap forward, providing we view it in the right perspective. Providing we view it in the right perspective. Think about that. Think about that. Brothers and sisters, what I have told you, I have found a great solace in my life. Heidi Petrick says she has to go. Everyone have a good weekend. Heidi, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping set our program forward with your super chat and also helping other people with their memberships. God bless you, Heidi. Thank you so much. We love you, Heidi. We do. Now, folks, as we go through this coming weekend, don't forget anything that I have said. Don't forget anything that I have said, either in preparedness-wise or in our spiritual devotional. I want you to remember it. I want to try to help you. I want to try to help you more than anything. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Subscribe to this program and share it with everybody you know. Your friends, your family, your neighbors, the people you work with, and the people you share social media with. Share this program forward all over. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love.